Everybody wants to be an astronaut. Take the long, tall trail to the sun.
Howdy everyone, hello and welcome back to more for the Golden Path Internationals, being sponsored by Unfussable Narrative. I am your host, commentator, and player today, the BlackShadow, and I say that because amongst all the various games, some 30-odd matches I think I've called so far in this tournament of all these other groups and other people, you might be remiss for wondering, Shadow, you are actually participating in this tournament that you created, right? And the answer is, well, yes, I actually am. Although I haven't really been able to record any particular games. I've played two already. A lot of my games have been shifted towards the back end of the tournament for a variety of reasons. But the first one had technical issues, and the second one was missing a player. So it's been a bit weird so far. This is the first proper sort of four-player game I've played so far in this tournament. So we're here to go through this, have a look at what I did do, what I didn't do right. And this was nerve shredding. Here's the table, by the way, going into this one, and you can see it is wide open. Apart from Hjorth and Dragira, you know, kind of having an edge. Realistically, this is pretty much anyone else's from third place down. Wide open, and although four people are a little bit behind, they've all got the game in hand. And you'll notice that does include me. Going into this, had not had a best of run so far in this. First game, I picked Hundro in a third position, when I really should have picked Tezia. Tezia then got picked in second and went on an absolute god run of cards. There wasn't really much anyone could do it, but just slaughtered the table. And in the second game, I took Tezia, got second place. In hindsight, maybe I could have found a way to win the game, but it was pretty dubious at best, and at the time, it just didn't seem like the right logical call. So, second place it was. So, coming into this, under an absolute bucket ton of pressure here. A bad result here, and I'm probably out this tournament. Very possibly here. But everyone's under pressure here as well. This one featuring Hjorth looking to cement the top of the table. ShadySlayer with 8 points in 3 games, so really also kind of could do with a decent result. And Nukeall as well, who hadn't had the best of starts to this. And it made components for a fascinating contest, this. Alright then, so the last time I did one of these in the previous one, I admittedly made a bit of a hash of it, and I will apologise, but this is me basically playing, so we're only going to be able to see my cards, we'll be focusing mainly on this. This is not going to be like the normal commentaries of what everyone's plays. I'll make thoughts on what people do and what they could have perhaps done otherwise, but a lot of this will be focused on ourselves. Also, should be noted, I was tempted to do this and kind of record it live, a bit like what Orski's been doing, but this was a really, really huge game for me, and I did not want to mess this up at all, so I just absolutely full focused the intentions to give you the to give you the thoughts afterwards and go through everything that happened. And who knows, maybe you'll learn a thing or two, and if not, then, well, hopefully you'll enjoy the ride, because this was... Oh my goodness me. Alright then. So first things first, we get underway here, and we pull fourth position, which I can't say I'm the happiest with, although fourth position does have the advantage now with a hidden pick system, as that the only people with complete leader information, which is obviously pretty darn useful. So look at the row and text here first. So, this is a pretty utilitarian row, nothing too fancy here, to be honest. There's a lot of some decent stuff, however, here. We've got Spy Smugglers, Def Commander, Jessica Arrakis, and Jess Initiate. So kind of workhorses, reasonably cheap. Treachery, definitely the standout card here. Very attractive, especially in the opening row. But what caught my eye was the text. All 2 costers and all fairly decent. Snoopers, Memo Corders, and Minimic. All really, really useful text and very, very cheap. Very acceptable to pretty much anyone here. A lot to desire. So we look at the leaders, and this is what we've got here for this. And already we have an immediate decision to make. Being in fourth position, you've got to have a pretty much a good idea of what your game plan is. So a lot of big leaders are missing. There's no Tezia, there's no Yuna, there's, you know, no Hundro, no Lido. So, fourth position, there's actually not a lot of great choices here. Now, to be fair with the row being fairly cheap, I could definitely go Ekaz. I think a fair few would go Ekaz. You could also take Baron Harkonnen, knowing that none of the other faction trackers are about. I could even pick Paul Atreides. And you know what? This isn't the worst row for Paul Atreides. I mean, as much as I love enjoying him and I enjoy playing as him, I didn't think it was the right call. As much as I enjoy playing as him, my record with the Beast is about as good as any leader I've got in this entire game. I trust him. I know him well. I play him frequently. So I went down with the Beast, with the intentions. I can obviously look to threaten all the techs. I can threaten them immediately. Maybe someone's going to go tech negotiation and get in the way, which is good. I don't have to go for them. There's some conflicts where I could rush Great Flat Conspire to get hold of Swordmaster right away. And obviously later on, if I can build up a good war engine, then Beast is going to be really terrifying. Of course, the problem you've got here, though, is the fact that almost certainly, I know that Rectile, ShadySlayer on my in the red spot is going to pick the Baron, because I don't really see who else he's going to pick. But it does mean that Blues and Yellow's leaders are probably not going to be too great. Blue's probably going to go like a card drawer. Nuke, I don't really know what he's going to do for. The one thing I was really concerned about, I know this is weird to say, I was actually really concerned about about Rombavernius coming up, because Rombavernius can also look to try and steal some of these techs, which I'm kind of after, and so that was highly concerning. And it means that my battle edge, which I have over the rest of the tech, assuming that he doesn't get picked, would also be lost as well. So really hoping Vernius didn't get picked, but I didn't expect Nuke to pick it, and I didn't really think Hjorth was also going to pick as well. I think he was probably going to go card drawing route. Also, it feels kind of sorry for Nuke as well. This is a miserable set of leaders for first position. Really tough. Do not envy him at all. But he ends up going with Paul Atreides. I think it's about as good a pick as he really could have done. It was not a nice first position for him at all, so he had my sort of sympathies there. So we're getting ready. I am threatening all sorts of things already, which is, to be fair, that's one of the things I like to do in my games. I like to just threaten loads. And on the hand we draw here, both our faction X is great, but that's it. I got Dune, and I got my convincing. So immediately I'm like, I was after probably going for like memo quarters or maybe Minimic with Beast, and I've lost access to it. So that's pretty brutal. And I'm back of the row, so I'm going to lose lots of good spots here. So this is already kind of a bit uncomfortable here. So we open up, fairly standard opening here. Paul Atreides going Force Fold Space, as you've kind of got to go and do. Armady Kaz, just skipping off a little bit here. He goes Hardy Warriors to block the beat with the Baron, which I think makes sense. Baron almost certainly has gone for Fremen and spacing. So Baron then goes Smuggling. Not his signet ring, should be noted. And then it comes to us, and we already have a bit of a tricky decision to make here. So already it's a bit ugly. It is a victory point in the combat, which is pretty desirable, and I can't say I hate that, but it's still not particularly fun, this, at all. Hardy Warriors is gone. I've got no city access. I've got no ring. So it's going to be really hard for me to logically actually contest this fight. I can't really do it. So I'm already having to give up on that. And I can't go my second plan, which was, if I can't compete for that, I go for a tech. I can't do either. So I kind of decide, I've got to go Steel Suits. It's open. Getting that water resource is going to be useful. I can threaten Great Flat. I can use that for highliners, for techs, Conspire, and all sorts of stuff in bits and pieces. I also already have my first decision on the board as well, which I've got to decide, what am I doing deck-wise here? So there's some good cards here for Beast, don't get me wrong. Burn Just Initiate's fine. Fadakin, very, very strong with the Famine Bond here. But I do see Treachery. And I have got 6 Persuasion. So I use Seek Allies first, and I kind of see how it goes. I pop a troop in, kind of threatening to come in over the top. I threaten Ekaz here. If I've got a ring, I can go over the top of Ekaz, so it kind of makes life difficult for him. He can't necessarily do what he wants. Paul goes Arakeen, drawing a couple of cards, which I think is totally fine. Looking to also pick up some other cards here. I'm concerned he's got a load of daggers, but he could also be drawing for a really high persuasion as well. Head on over to Hjorth. Hjorth does not like the fact I've got this troop in. He's a bit uncomfortable about it. Doesn't have too much else to do in the end, so he ends up making his way over to Savfk, puts the 5th troop in. I think that's totally fine. And then to Baron Harkonnen, who actually goes and uses his signet ring over to Arik to tech negotiation. So he's basically kind of getting in the way here. He's trying to make sure that I obviously don't grab one of these techs, which is totally logical. Also gets his first intrigue as well. And so we look at the situation. I'm like, well, what can we do here? I hate leaving diplomacy. I really don't enjoy that. Wealth is fine. Secrets is also fine. But I think Treachery is a little too strong here to give up. I'm also concerned that Paul Atreides might well have 6 and will grab it. If I don't grab Treachery now, I'm probably never going to see it. So I've kind of got to get in the way here. So we make the early reveal. We grab Treachery, intending to try and get a reveal or two out of it for the extra troops, kind of harass some mid-game combat, use the ring to supplement that, and then look to kind of go for that. But yeah, never feels good, like, revealing like that, but I think I think it was the right call, and it was huge, well, because Paul Atreides also had 6 persuasion, so he was 100% going for that. But he gets second prize. He takes Jessica Arrakis along with the Bench Initiative, which I don't hate at all. I think it's fine. Liet Kyne pops up on the row here, by the way, which is nuts. Firm Grip pops up on the row. Full-Scale Assault is also still there. That's huge. So there's a lot of massive cards here already. Massive row. Ikaz gets the sword, goes to Liaison. He has 3. He cannot buy Firm Grip. And it's the same for Baron, who also cannot go for Firm Grip. So massive cards on the row here. Absolutely huge. We grab a spice and we move on to here. So it's second round now. And of course, this means that we're going to have all our daggers and signet ring here. So kind of a bit of a funky round this. The combat is Cloak and Dagger, which the smuggling, the bump and 2 intrigues very desirable here. So, fold space from a Kaz in order to get in the way of the Baron. Baron Hardy Warriors to get off Masterstroke, looking to obviously win the combat, get his second bump here with the Spacing Guild. Makes logical sense. Really good combat for this one, actually. Really, really huge. And so it comes to us with our first action to go here. So we've got a lot of options. We've got some spice. We've got techs. I imagine Baron wanted to get hold of one of those techs, but he obviously had to go Hardy Warriors first. He couldn't allow that to be given up to, say, Paul or whatever else. So, totally had to go in there first and hit the combat. So, great opportunity for us to go for the techs. I'm also looking at the row as well. So, we've got 3 Persuasion in hand, but we can also dagger to Tech Negotiation and grab Mimic, and we could potentially, again, even consider Early Ring for Liet Kynes. It's that good a card in the situation, and gives me some potential flexibility, grabbing hold of some liaisons or whatever else. You know, I've got some options with my game plan here. If I don't go for these techs now, Baron 100% is almost always going Tech Negotiation second round, because he's going to feel he's got troops in. Unless I, like, absolutely hammer Carfag and just chuck dudes in which case he kind of has to respond. But even then, he might, I don't know. The problem is that he could then still go to Memo Cores. This is the issue we've got here. There's 2 ways for him to get bumps. He can get a bump with the victory, but he can also grab Memo Quarters. And if he gets that, he's good for shipping. And my job here is just to stall Baron as long as I can and make this as expensive as humanly possible. Try and stop him getting hold. He'll be fairly likely to get hold of shipping. Next round. It's gonna be hard to, like, completely stop him, but I can make his life pretty miserable. So we go for, eventually, after some thought, I consider, like, whether I want to use my signet ring now and hold on to the 2 daggers and go, like, to a city. But I end up deciding to use one of my daggers, head up north to Tech Negotiation, and I pivot to go for the Mimic here. Again, threatening Liet Kynes, which is uncomfortable for the players. They do not want me having that at all. But it also gives me Firm Grip as a backup as well, depending on how things transpire. Yes, I could go Memo Quarters as well, obviously for my own shipping benefits. But I'm not going to see a lot of shipping. It's also not likely I'm even going to get there. In theory, what I want to do is I want to win this combat. And try and steer away from Baron, which is going to be tricky to do. And then try, and maybe I've got Memo Quarters. Either way, I can't really stop Baron. Yeah, he's even going to fold space or whatever else. So I go Mimic, kind of thinking more longer term. I think the bump from the Memo Quarters, I don't think is the right call. I think Mimic is going to be good in the long run. Paul Atreides goes Wealth, which I think is totally fine. Armored Ekaz is kind of already in a bit of a weird spot. So Ekaz and Baron at this point both are completely resourceless as well. So they've got to start scrambling to grab some stuff here. So Imperial Basin gets hit, which Baron would have liked to have had. Baron ends up early revealing here just to deny me Liet Kynes. He was that terrified I was going to early reveal twice in a row, and I was considering it. Figures he's ahead in the combat here as well, so he figures he's probably going to be good here. Only the 1 dagger, however, and I have got the dagger in hand, so I've decided I've got to charge the absolute maximum here. Off to Carfag, ship him in, get everything in. Find Dispatch and Envoy, really useful to get there early on, gives you a lot of flexibility. And with the dagger in hand, I will be charging the Baron the absolute maximum here, hoping to just tie the combat and slow him down as much as I can. Paul Atreides goes for Mentat with Dagger, which is, I think, okay. Paul can make a lot of use out of Dagger early, Mentat early. He can definitely do that. You've got to be careful. Obviously, you're going to pay a lot of money, but it's still fine. So he grabs that. Ikaz draws an extra card so that he can pick up Firm Grip, which he does. He finds the 2 Persuasion. And it's back to us. Reveal for 4. We have, we've got 1, 2, Mimic for 3, Tech Negotiation 4. We pick up Firm Grip, which is definitely the best card in the row at that point. We peel off Web of Power, though, for Paul Atreides, which feels horrible. Really bad card to give away. Not a lot we can do about it. So Paul gets a free spin, and I think it was Arakeen here, if memory serves me correctly. My other concern going into the round as well is that I was also very tempted, to go to Great Flat, because I was very concerned that Paul Atreides just goes Great Flat. Obviously, I'm thinking, if I get second in this combat, I get a second Spice, and if I'd have gone Great Flat, I'm guaranteeing trip to Highliner next round with Dispatch and Envoy, and that is always something that I can threaten. If it's a victory point combat, I can go hard at it and just make life for everyone really, really miserable and look to try and take the combat victory down. It's going to be really important for us because we're kind of giving up some of our early game to power late game here, so they're very important here. And I'm hoping that Paul does not go Great Flat here. I would totally get if he did. I'm kind of hoping he goes Arakeen and has to, like, find extra cards to buy Web of Power. That's my hope here. Maybe you go Hagar Basin. I don't hate that at all. Maybe he goes Smuggling. I have no idea. I just hope he doesn't go Great Flat because Great Flat I want to be hitting next round if he doesn't, in order to get hold of an absolute bucket ton of spice and just threaten all sorts of things. Goes Smuggling in the end, which I don't hate at all. He's looking, obviously, to get hold of some cash, pay for his Swordmaster, which he's kind of sacrificed a bit going Mentat. And obviously just drawing a load of cards, which I think is totally fine. Reveals for 5 to get hold of Web of Power. So that's that. Baron releases up a Battle Intrigue, which is fine. Paul also goes Missionary, which is a bit speculative. Baron uses Blackmail to take the combat down, and I'm okay with that. Charge Baron, the absolute maximum to win this victory. It's cost him a bump at the Emperor to do it as well. I think I've charged a decent price. I still get a decent one out well, and I pick up a Calculated High as well. One of my favorite. I really enjoy Calculated High. You can do a lot of really fun stuff with Calculated High if you're willing to take some risks. And that was the name of this game. Tons of risks. So Baron gets his shipping access before everyone else, which again, I couldn't ultimately stop, but I charged the maximum price here. And we open up, and look at this hand here. We find Treachery immediately, which is really annoying. The plan was, I was kind of after looking to go Dune Desert Planet to, or Signet Ring to Great Flat, and then use my Diplomacy, or another card in order to go to Highliner. But I pull my Treachery straight away, which already makes this turn a little bit weird. Treachery is one of those cards that you can definitely use straight away, but it's really nice to try and get some reveals off for those extra troops here. But I'm also looking at my Persuasion, and I've got 6, which is not amazing for this row. So Baron actually goes Memo Quarters first to stop me getting it in an attempt to basically deny everyone else shipping. And basically to kind of keep away from people, which I don't hate. He's intending to go, basically go instead of shipping, look to go up and down, take the Spacing Alliance with Solari to get hold of his Swordmaster. So we open up with the Great Flat as planned. Get the troop here. And I'm already starting to think already about what do I want to do with Calculated High here. Calculated High is really cool in that you don't actually have to use it if you have no agents. You can risk it, and then when you're going to reveal, say, oh, I've got Calculated High, and take an extra move. So I'm already kind of thinking, do I Treachery Highliner? It gets me shipping access next round, which is obviously desirable. I'd probably have to go Smuggling first, though. If I can get out of Smuggling, I might well take the chance. Paul goes forward space, which is fine. He's got to get hold of that. Assuming that I can't likely get access to instead of shipping. So he's probably going to get a couple of hits of shipping. He's got to hope he does. It's hard for me to find my Treachery right away. But again, it's why I got hold of the Spice. I was like, I've got to give myself some chances here. I don't have to use Dispatch as well right now. I can hold on to later on. Dispatch gives you so much flexibility when you draw a bad hand. It just gives you so many options. Especially in the early game, Dispatch is fantastic. Also, the fact that I went to Great Flat and did not go Fold Space also probably was a little telling here. So, Ikaz goes to Hagar Basin with Fadakin, which I think is fine. Gets rid of a dagger, getting some spice together. He's going to probably look to get hold of some cards. Instead of shipping from Baron, up, down, bump spacing, you know the drill. Take the cash. And then it comes to us. And we've got to decide how we want to do this. So if I'm going to go Highliner, I feel like I've got to go Smuggling first. This is very important so that I can then, next round, Interstellar and cash in immediately. It's very important that we do that. We're looking obviously to get hold of the Solari so that we can look to go Swordmaster immediately next round. I can threaten that, get in front of the Baron. Baron's going to make his life awkward. There's a lot of things I could do as well. I've also got to stop Paul Atreides going smuggling so he can cash in for his Swordmaster as well. So the question is, do I calculate higher now, or do I risk Paul Atreides going for it? I also have to have other options. I could also use my Dispatch Envoy. And the thing is, like, smuggling's also good, but I don't have to do it now. I've got options as well. And the one thing I want to do is I want to try and avoid a situation where, I do really want to avoid where Paul Atreides just goes Mentat and then takes some cash. But I figure he's more important trying to get hold of his Swordmaster right away, so I figure he's not going Mentat here. I also look at the situation. Paul's not putting any troops in yet. Ikaz's garrison is empty, so if I ambush with Treachery next round, and I hold off and calculated higher, I can do a lot of funny. So I go Wealth, just kind of a bit of a docile move, kind of trying to, you know, give the illusion I'm kind of not drawn very much here. Bad hand. I don't go smuggling, trying not to raise any suspicion here. Just completely give it up. We got 4 Persuasion in hand as well, which isn't bad. It's not a great board for 4, to be fair. Let's not be honest. But I'm going to be calculated hiring. They're all going to reveal before me. So hopefully something nice comes off that I can make use of with my 3 or 4 Persuasion. Paul Atreides now sees situation. It's Gil Bankrate. There's a ton of money. He's like, well, I could go smuggling and get my cash, or I could fight for it. And you know what? Don't hate it. So Paul Atreides goes Carthag, gets an intrigue, rocks and rolls, gets some troops in. I've got nothing. I'm out of actions. People do not see the calculated higher, because it's really, you got to be willing to take the risk to do it. Like, if he goes Mentat, I look like a complete idiot. And it's like, it's pretty much a disaster for me, so definite chance taken. Paul just puts the 2 troops in, which I think is totally reasonable. Don't hate that at all. Obviously, I'm conscious of the fact that they all have intrigues now, and I don't, which is going to make my combat life very difficult. Signaling for Ikaz, putting the troop in. Yep, seems good. And I think Ikaz grabs he doesn't grab anything with his ring. Baron reveals for free, grabbing another liaison, obviously feeding the kind, very scary, or 4 even. And then here we go. I'm like, thank goodness me. So first risk taken, first risk works. We ambush with the calculated hire, we hit Treachery, intercepting instead of shipping for Paul. Huge chance taken, but it was worth it. Put in 4 troops. I have got to worry about the fact I want to get hold of denying Paul Atreides the 6 Solari, because that means he can't get Swordmaster right away. He has to stall for it. The idea being is that next round, we want to go shipping, and then we want to go either Mentat or Swordmaster, whichever one that Baron Harkonnen does not take, because Paul's probably got to go well for smuggling to get hold of his money. He has 3 swords, so my 4 troops in is good, assuming he doesn't have, like, tiebreakers on it, which would be really brutal, but I just gotta take a chance here. He might also be okay with just taking 4 Solari. But there's a lot of intrigues there that you could have which don't help him in this situation. So I take my chance of 4. Don't want to put any more in. I've got to keep a healthy garrison because Baron has got a bit of a garrison as well, and I've got to threaten that. Space Shuttle takes here. Gunthopter peels off. Massive card for us here. Really juicy combat card for Beast. Ikaz reveals for free and doesn't buy. So we reveal for 4. We take Gunthopter. Massive card here. That's going to be huge with a nice healthy garrison. Nothing, no intrigues from the other players, so 4 troops is good. We take the 6 Solari. We slow down Paul Atreides. Fantastic rope for us. So round 3. It is Siege of Carthag here. So victory point combat is present, which is a very big one. This is a big combat between me and the Baron. Baron already threatening to do a lot of damage here with 4 points. So very concerning here. We have to go instead of shipping first. I hold on Fremen Camp. The idea being, I might end up using this maybe at, like, Imperial Basin. I've also got Diplomacy. I've got some options here, a bit of flexibility. So we take the double bump and move on. Paul Atreides is up first. He kind of has to get his cash together to prepare for Swordmaster next round. Doesn't really want to take any risks here. I don't hate it. So, fold space to wealth is totally fine. So he gets it. So we've got 3 people ready to buy their Sword Masters now, which is very unusual. We don't see that a lot here. I'm praying Kaz doesn't take Mentat. I don't think he's going to take Mentat here. I think he needs to set out his economy as well. He's got a load of spice too. Maybe there's a world that Ekaz hits Conspire. I wouldn't totally hate that. You know, and everyone's got their Solari for Swordmaster, which is kind of insane. But the problem I've got as Beast, though, is that it's going to be really hard for me to get my Swordmaster because, of course, this round, Baron's going to get his Swordmaster, and then next round, Paul Atreides is going to get his Swordmaster, and the round after that, Ekaz might well get his Swordmaster. The problem is, I'm ready to get it, but I'm in no position to get it at all because I'm going to have to wait forever. And that's where a plot starts forming here. And I'm starting to look at the situation. I'm like, I have 5 Persuasion plus Minimic. Now, I think Baron's going to go hard here. Also, by the way, Wealth Block for Ekaz. So he goes Chow Murky with Tech Negotiation. Pretty savage, that. And I've got 6 Persuasion. I'm playing the long game. I have to win endgame combats in this. If Baron goes hard at combat here, do I go High Council and take Full-Scale Assault? I don't like this card. I'm not a big fan. I would normally just rather take the Spiceless Flow. But in this specific situation, given the fact that I'm going to have to just run the battlefield here, I'm actually considering this might be the play. I've got to see what Baron does first. Does Baron go in heavy here? Does he go for his Swordmaster? I've got to put him in an uncomfortable position here, and I've got to make a decision. I've also got 10 Solari as well, so I've actually got a little bit of a chance to I've got my dagger, you know, and I know that my next card is my other dagger. I've only got 1 card left, so I know that I can go Mentat and redraw the dagger, which is something you almost never do, but I actually think is a good spot for it, and it also means that the Baron, I keep putting him in an awkward spot here, and I'm kind of waiting for him to make the first move. I've got to see what he does, so I take the Mentat. Also, brutal for Paul, who obviously was looking to get hold of that if Swordmaster went. He would have appreciated that. I've also got to hope he doesn't go High Council. That would be reasonable, but Paul also wants to get his Swordmaster next round. I figure Nuke just wants to get his 3 actions and go from there, which is totally solid. You can't complain about the situation. So, maybe he goes Smuggling. Maybe he goes, you know, to like a faction space. Still Suits maybe. Secrets maybe. You know, I'm not entirely sure what he's going to do here. Don't quite know what his game plan is. Still yet to see. And then the fun starts happening. So Paul goes Imperial Basin, which is bad because Imperial Basin was one of my combat spots with Fremen Camp to take the combat here. So that's already making me think, maybe this is one for me to be patient on and not fully committing here. You know, and it's like, obviously, the thing is, if Paul and Baron go hard at this combat, I'm going to be ready for the next one, and I can take it down fairly easily. Ekaz goes Smuggling, so he's prepping up to go instead of shipping or smuggling and get his money next round, to get his Swordmaster, so I've read that correctly. And then Baron does go Arakeen here for the draw. No Signet Ring for him, he has no money here, so... And he puts the 3 in. So we already have a massive decision point. A decision point, be fair, that has been enabled by the fact that I went Minimic. And it shows you, like, just grabbing Minimic can give you so many options in these tricky spots that you would not normally have. Like, normally I'd have to probably just, like, go Diplomacy and pick up, like, Charney or whatever and grab the water. Or something else, maybe. But I now look at it. Swordmaster this round. Next round, Paul Atreides is probably grabbing it. And the round afterwards, Ekaz is probably grabbing it. So I'm not going to see Swordmaster for a long time. A very long time. And the thing is that if they're buying the Swordmaster, they then can't afford Mentat because there's no money in the game. I'm the only one with any cash. And Full-Scale Assault and getting that Dreadnought and Firepower, it proves too much. So I make the punt and I go High Council. Of course, High Council with Minimic gives me 3 Persuasion minimum every round. So that also gives me Spice must flow options. Maybe to use with my water if I don't want to grab Spice or whatever else. So I'm just giving myself every single option I humanely can. You know, I could even maybe punt to Spice must flow strats later on maybe if I need to. If combat just falls apart for whatever reason. I gotta pick and choose. But cards like Fremen Camp are just so good because they give you a firepower with obviously its agent action. But 2 Persuasion and a Dagger Reveal is also very good as well. So Fremen Camp, great versatile card. Paul Atreides reveals for 5. He gets a bump. And the first real bit of fun happens here is when Paul Atreides bumps spacing. Could have bumped Emperor to secure that. Could have bumped Fremen maybe in order to start making a push to get hold of Siege Tiber. But he goes for this. And I'm like, oh boy. And the fun is happening. The classic Baron, everyone corrals to stop him, begins. And of course, Paul Atreides is going to the ship in next turn. And Baron Harkonnen is going to be drawing into a blank deck here, so he could pick up anything. And there's worlds where Paul Atreides is going to steal this alliance. More liaisons for Ikaz. Spice must flow for our Baron. Yeah, but Baron reveals for 10 persuasion, and thank goodness he goes for Spice must flow. If he'd have gone for full scale, I would have been in major trouble. But thankfully, he goes for the point, and we take full scale, and again, we close our eyes and just plan to just win this at the end of the game. Because I'm falling behind here pretty badly. I'm 3 points behind Baron. It feels pretty uncomfortable, but and then obviously he's going to win the combat here. So Baron's at 6 points in 4 rounds, and I'm at 2. It feels horrendous. I'm like, have I made the right call here? But I'm down this path. I'm committed. I'm ready for the next combat. Come on, give me a victory point. Desert Power. All right, very good. We find Desert Power here. Huge. And the great thing as well is now Paul Atreides is going to start chasing the Baron. Then that's going to distract the Baron, and it gives me other opportunities to try and sneak in and cause some fun here. Also, my garrison, compared to everyone else, is huge. So, great chance for us here. Anyways, so it's Paul up first. Paul has to decide, does he want shipping or does he want Swordmaster? And whichever one he does, we have to react a little bit differently. The intention is, if he decides he's going to harass Baron, then I can flirt with the Emperor Alliance while Paul is distracted. I can maybe make a punt here. I'm actually considering, maybe next round going, conspiring. Or I've also got smuggling open as well, and I can take the bump here passively and look to maybe conspire next round. Go wealth, whatever. So I can threaten that alliance here. Also, again, 9 persuasion in hand here. So it shows you just the options I've got here. Great Flat's an option. Research Station's an option. Paul Atreides ultimately goes for instead of shipping, which I'm never going to knock people going instead of shipping to the Swordmaster. I think it's totally fine. Especially given the fact that I currently can't yet get my Swordmaster, nor can he Kaz, so, he doesn't have to worry about that. It takes a load of money as well, which is curious. I'm like, guessing High Council might be coming? My more bigger concern here is that Paul Atreides is actually arming up to go Mentat heavy. And the problem for me is that I'm currently using Mentat to kind of play as a defense against the Baron. Because Baron's got agents on me, I'm having to use Mentat to, stall and put myself in position against him. So he's having to react first here. So, very important I try and keep Mentats on top here. So I've got to really carefully manage my resources and not fall too short in Solari. I also don't want to be in position where, say, I'm the only person to get Swordmaster in a couple of rounds, and I don't have the money for Swordmaster, and Mentat starts getting blocked to me. Disaster. It's the last thing you want. Anyways, Ikaz goes full space to Selective Breeding, so he's going for Spice Must Flow. His Chalmurki's pretty big here as well. That is very concerning. I do not like seeing that at all. So Baron Harkonnen has a problem in that he can't defend his alliance. Oh boy. So he goes to Carthag, hoping to find anything. Bribery, finesse, anything he can find here. Doesn't find any of them. So again, we go Mentat. We've got to keep position here. That's our way of trying to cheapen combat. Pay a little bit of Solari. We make people not want to get into combat. Make life difficult. I also reckon at some point I'm going to find a way to smuggling and get my Swordmaster anyway. So I don't need to worry about... I can spend those 2 Solaris fairly safely. Or I can go into the shipping and cash in. I've got options. Ikaz at some point is also going to cash in his coins. So I'm going to get my Swordmaster by the time it comes back round to me. I should be okay. Ikaz goes Steel Suits for the water, which is interesting. I'm like, okay. Never great when you have no troops in garrison. Baron just scrambling for resources here because he's that short. Not putting any troops in noticeably as well. So he's kind of waiting for me to make the first move, but I don't buy it. So we already have another decision point here, or what we want to do. This is a massive combat, one that I basically have to win. There's no way I can lose this. If I lose this, my game is probably over. With the Mentat draw, we've got Full Scale on our hand here. Full Scale is kind of a weird one in that, at the moment, its Asian action and reveal action are kind of about balanced. I reveal for 2 Persuasion and 3 Swords my Dreadnoughts in, which is huge. But also just having 2 troops in is also really significant. But it's less important for Beast, of course, because his Signet Ring gives troops on any space that it goes to. So, and I've also got Fremen Camp. So the Asian Army of Full Scale is kind of devalued. And I'm already eyeing up Spiceman's Foes here. Now, I've got 6, 7... I've got 11 Persuasion in hand here. So, I'm like, well, I've got to kind of protect that. And I'm also still threatening to look to go Great Flat here. The idea being, I want to go to Great Flat, I want to win the combat, get one of my waters back, and then try and pick another one, and maybe find a way to, like, Research Station or something. Maybe go Highliner and get my water back that way. I've got a lot of options. I'm also, again, considering next round going Conspiring of the Emperor. Once I take my passive bump here, and then make a push for the Emperor Alliance. So, just trying to keep options open. We find a Convincing Bow, which is a bit overkill, so I've got a ton of Persuasion here. I've got like 12 Persuasion or something. Completely nuts. There's no way for anyone to make people discard cards, which is huge. No voice either, so nothing's getting blocked. I'm also, once again, concerned that Paul Atreides is going to go Great Flat, and I was very concerned about this. I really wanted to go to Great Flat first, but then the problem is I'd have nowhere to really go with my reconnaissance. I have no access to seats yet. So recon literally goes to 1 space, so I've got to take another gamble and hope that Paul doesn't go Great Flat. Maybe he goes Hagar Basin instead. I've always got Hagar Basin as an emergency backup, but I'm really eyeing up here. And I see it. Oh, no. I'm like, oh, no. And then he goes Hagar Basin. Oh, thank goodness. So he gets up to 6 spicy. So he's now threatening Highliner. He catches by Spice. Don't hate it. So Baron has to make the move here. So he goes to Siege. His second... I mean, look at these 3 actions he's got here. Pretty ugly. Carthag, Siege, and Imperial Basin. Doesn't feel great. And again, this is like the Baron, you know, threatening to stall here. Obviously, he's got a ton of intrigues up, which is also a problem here. So he's going to start buying. And I'm like, oh boy. Throws the troops in here. And he expedites. I'm like, ugh. So, big decision here. I'm pretty much committed to go Great Flat, because there's nowhere else the ring goes that I can put troops, and I have to put troops in here. What is the Baron doing? That is the question. He's got 3 troops and he's got a load of intrigues here. Is he trying to win this combat? Or is something else going on? It's a difficult spot. I have 4 swords. I've got 4 swords. I've got 3 for Dreadnought and Fremen Camp. So I'm actually at 11 strength here. So the question I'm asking myself is, if I don't go Great Flat, can I win this combat? Is 11 strength enough, or is he sitting there with, like, Tactician and Ambush? But I have, like, troops in here, and I've got troops behind. And it's, you know, and I can go Hardy Warriors, I can go Great Flat. You know, I have options. He knows I've got I may have some swords in my cards here. And it does, and I can always go Research Station as well. So I've got lots of ways of deploying troops here. And I start getting kind of suspicious. And I start wondering, has he actually got Staged Incident? Is he trying to fake this out? He has no resources. He has no private army. He can't use Allied Armada, because I actually legit think he would use Allied Armada if he had it here, because it's such a big combat. If he wins this combat, he probably wins the game. And it's a really difficult spot. And again, I can't afford to lose this. And I'm thinking, I think he's got Stage Incident. I call it out, and I say, I think you've got Stage Incident once we start revealing cards. I was really sure, because it didn't make a lot of sense here. Like, how can he be getting in? Is he really getting the troops in here just to try and get the water and spice to, like, get in front of... for Great Flat? It's possible. Pick up 5 spice. You could do a lot with that. But it's tough. It's a really tough spot. And what's not only tough is not only thinking he's got Stage Incident, but believing he's got Stage Incident. And it's a brutal spot here. Like, it would take balls to not put troops in here, but I have to put in a couple. And I figure if I put in 2, if he has got, like, Ambush and, like, Tactician, I'm safe. Paul Atreides also might have something weird. You never know. He might have a load of swords. So if I can put in 2 troops, get up to 15 strength, and I know the battle's safe. I've still got some troops garrisoned. I could have used Fremenkamp, but I didn't think 2 spies for the extra 2 troops was worth it. I really want to keep hold of the spies here, keep my options open next round. Port Atreides reveals for 5. So, you know, not a terrible row here. Freighter Fleet's okay. Fadakin's also not bad for him. He has got some Fremen cards here. Retreats one of his troops, makes sense. Only one realistic choice here. He has to kind of go Freighter Fleet's the best card there. It also seems silly to give up the 5. He can also go Fadakin as well. Don't hate Fadakin. But Port Atreides knows he's not going to be doing any shipping here for a little while, so he'll pull off Fadakin, I'm pretty sure, which he does. Finds Spice Hunter, and he's like, I've got Fremen cards, I got Fremen bonds, rock and roll, and I believe he picks that up indeed here, if memory serves. So doesn't take up Freighter Fleet. I was like, huh, okay. Oh, he didn't even pull... Oh, no, he didn't pull Spice Hunter, didn't he? No, I completely forgot about that. So, a sword from Baron, pays him up to 7. I'm like, oh dear, this feels kind of bad. So I reveal, I buy the Spiceless Flow with 9 persuasion. This is the huge thing. If this is what you want to try and achieve with Beast, if you can find a way to be winning combats and buying Spiceless Flows, you are so strong. It makes you so difficult to play against, and you can do crazy things. You know, and here we are, like, I'm challenging the combat, I'm buying spies, and it makes you so hard to play. So we take it, I call out, I think, I'm just like, that's stage incident. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's stage incident. I just feel it in my bones. But I have 2 persuasion extra, so I go, let's pick up Freighter Fleet, you know, I want to do some shipping. I'm going to draw on this pretty soon. What the hell, you know, I got 11 persuasion. And he flips it, and I'm like, that's stage incident. And he's like, yep, here's stage incident. I'm like, Christ. So, another point for Baron here. Brutal. I mean... What a ridiculous start this is for him. So it feels horrendous. You know, to find a point like that is kind of gross. Not a lot you can do about it. But again, Baron is now resource deprived. And he's going to be in trouble here. Also, his alliance, he couldn't defend it. He's in absolute jeopardy here. And he's the point of the fact that, like, yellow, like, instead of deciding to go for, like, these 2 factions, decided to challenge Baron. And I'd say what, yellow certainly did not have to do that by any stretch of imagination. But he took the chance and policed, and fair play to Nuke for doing so. With cards like Missionary and Bene Gesserit, it's like, he has the ability to challenge this. He also has a Highliner as well. And as it turns out, there was another reason that he went challenge that alliance. We cover up Imperial Basin. I care more about the spice than the Solari again. As long as I cash Solari and Ecas cashes Solari, I'm going to get my spice must flow. Don't care about the Carthag and the money. I know Baron's resource deprived, but... And I'm not like C-flag, hit flag. Also, there's worlds where this is Imperial Basin and I get a troop here. I've got to keep my eyes on the next combat. If I go Carthag, I can never get the bonus troop. So we move on. It's trade monopoly. I need another victory point here because Gunflopter gets pulled. That's a bit annoying, but Gunflopter's still pretty good. So Ikaz goes instead of shipping, which makes sense, of course. Up and down, takes the cash. He bumps the Bene Gesserit, I believe. There he does. And then Baron goes Mentat, and I'm like, okay. Now I'm like, Baron, and I'm like, well, Baron draws Mentat, which means he still hasn't found his diplomacy. And the problem is he had like a 13, 14 card deck and hadn't found it. So I'm like, oh my god, Port Atreides is going to steal this alliance. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is huge. So the thing is, of course, I'm looking at Port Atreides thinking, I think he's going Highliner. Like, I would probably be considering Highliner in this spot. So that makes going into combat here really ugly. Also, the other problem I've got here, I'm like, uh-oh. I got a big problem here. Mentat's gone, and Ikaz is going Swordmaster. Oh dear. I only got 2 actions this combat. That sucks. So I've got an immediate problem here of what I'm going to do. Makes trying to fight this hideous. So just smuggle. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to smuggle. We're going to cash down. And I'm still considering going Conspiring to have just a ton of Solari. And try and live off Mentat instead of getting my Swordmaster. But I'm kind of seeing how it goes. Also, it gives me extra garrison troops as well. In order to, like, make good use of Gunflopter. Take the passive bump with the Emperor. Looks innocuous. And again, Port Atreides is busy now fighting the Baron with the Spacing Alliance. So I can afford to wait here. No rush. Now, Paul here makes a really good move, and I absolutely adore this move. He actually goes fold space instead of going highlighter. The idea is to completely block a Baron out of this, which is savage. Like, I mean, really awesome. Great move from Nuke there. I love it. And once you see his hand, you'll realize another reason he went there. This is a great turn from Nuke, this whole round he played really well. So Kaz has to go Swordmaster here, because I'm threatening it. And he must have access there. I'm like, I mean, what else can you do here? And he pulls Firm Grip. And look at this. He goes High Council. And I'm like, whoa. You went High Council, dude? With Firm Grip? And that's why he wanted to get all the Bene Gesserit Alliance. So he's now at 7 points. So now Kaz is trying to race this game to victory. And he's just trying to push all the levers. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting Swordmaster, so that's good. Baron then finds his diplomacy on the Mentat draw. So, great move from Nuke. He goes Steel Suits, threatening this alliance here. We grab Swordmaster. I'm like, that's a bonus. I don't have to worry about Mentat anymore. I'd still like to grab it where possible, but it's not urgent. Again, still considering going Conspiring here, but it's now less important. The problem is, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, well, what else can I really do here? You know, it's kind of looking a bit awkward. No one's deployed yet, by the way. Paul and Baron to put in 2 apiece. They've got 2 actions apiece, and I've got 1, so I am out of position here. Due to the Mentat draw for the Baron. I've got 5 Persuasion as well. I'm like, I would love to have 6 to pick up Opulence, but 5 Persuasion is pretty brutal on this row here. Looks hideous. I'm so buying very little here. And then Paul Atreides goes Hardy Warriors. I'm like, oh, okay. I think he was concerned that maybe I could get there somehow. Because I do have my Diplomacy in hand, and me going Hardy Warriors here looks pretty logical. Like, I would probably think I was going Hardy Warriors too, and it was definitely something being considered. But I had options. I could go Conspire, I could go Wealth, I could even go like Secrets or Selective, you know, I've got options here. So he gets in front, only puts in 2 troops. And I'm thinking, I got Gunfopter, we can have some fun here. Kaz just reveals, gets rid of his Spice Must Flow. 5 Persuasion in hand, again, terrible row for 5. You don't really want to peel off cards like Spice Hunter, Bounty Hunter's not doing a whole lot, you're scared about peeling off other big cards. And Baron's going to just buy a load of liaisons, realistically. He's trying to get as much out of the kinds as possible. There is a liaison. So he goes to Research Station. Obviously, he's looking to put in troops in the next round to try and pick up a cheap place here. And again, I've got a tricky spot here of what on earth to do. This is difficult. This is a very difficult spot to do. Now, there is worlds that I can actually beat Paul Atreides here, but the problem is I really want to use my Diplomacy. I've given up Diplomacy once. I don't want to abandon it twice. But the thing is, I'm also considering, like, what I'm going to do here. And it's like, well, if I want to actually win this combat, you know, 2 shipping bumps and the troop back is really significant. I don't mind second place. The Intrigue and Water gives me, again, Research Station, Great Flat, gives me all those options. But it's, like, really tricky to know what to do here. The other issue I've got is I'm currently fighting out of position with no intrigues. And of course, when you've got no intrigues, once you're face up, you have no deception. So if I want to fight this combat and try to win, I need an intrigue to try and give me some cover so that I'm not playing face up. I've got to defend here. But of course, the only way I can do it is with Gunfopter. And Gunfopter, I would much rather reveal. And I'd much rather play Diplomacy, just for the faction bump. But I'm looking at the faction, I'm like, well, the problem is, if I go Conspire, I've got a big garrison for next round. But I also wouldn't mind having the Spice of Flow just to hit Highliner and just get that. Because other people can... You know, Paul Tracy is threatening Highliner, and I've got to do something about that. And that's going to be a problem next round. If he next round, Conflict Free comes up, he goes Highliner, it's a disaster. So, I go in the tank for some time, trying to think, what's Paul Atreides going to do? Is Paul Atreides getting it Opulence? Is Baron Harkonnen, has he drawn a Spice Must Flow? Is he just going to get Opulence himself? Opulence would be nice, but I can't get it anyway, so I'm kind of just thinking everything through. And eventually, I find Gunfop to the Carfag. The idea being that it gets rid of Yellow's troop, I can put 3 in, and it makes life really difficult for Paul Atreides to actually win this combat, and I can very conceivably win this. Also, the intrigue's worth it, and I find Urgent Mission one of the best intrigues in the game. Monstrous. Absolutely monstrous find this. Huge. So I'm like, oh my gosh, there might be chances here. Urgent Mission is going to be great for just deploying troops next round. I know next round I actually have to win the combat. So Paul Atreides then goes Web of Power. I had a funny feeling, and I thought if I just take his troop out from his garrison, his incentive to actually fight me in this combat is like really, really hideous. And I just don't think he's going to... I just didn't think he was going to put any more troops in. And I was right. So he goes Web of Power to Selective Breed, obviously trying to find Spice Maslows. Gets some resources for his troubles. He trashes, I think it was like... So this is where it gets a bit weird here. So what happens here? So, yeah, look at this. Quid pro quo, 3 factions. Oh, that's hideous. So takes 2 points and locks up the Spacing Guild. What a turn. Massive for Nuke. Just huge. Brutal for Baron. He can't rescue this in any way or shape now, and that's a problem here. And now he's sacrificed points elsewhere. So that's a real problem for Paul Atreides. And then this happens here, and this is a little bit unfortunately. So Nuke here has trashed Recon with his selective breeding. And what he does here is that he then decides he's going to trash further, which makes sense. I would trash now. We all go and have a look at the at Paul's deck here because, of course, we're all very interested in what's going on. I certainly am. We all go have a look here. And that's what he's got in his hand. You know, Dune Desert Planet, Dagger, you know, maybe Convincing, maybe. Don't know exactly what's going on. But what Paul Atreides does is he trashes the deck, but he trashes the one out of his hand. He completely forgot that he had one in his discard deck. Oh, this is unfortunate. This was very unfortunate here. And what ended up happening is afterwards, after he does that, Baron Harkonnen goes to Siege to put in the troop, just to try and pick up some water and intrigues. And then I obviously have to reveal for 5. Again, pretty bad row for 5, but I'm thinking, well, where am I getting my points here? I've yet to get any access Bene Gesserit. I'm still haven't got my point with the Fremen either, and that's a problem. Hardy Warriors is obviously a great option with the water. I can look to hit that, put in troops next round. I'm going to get my Dreadnought back. I can be super aggressive, do all sorts of manner of things here. So I actually go and I buy Spice Hunter without a Fremen bond, just for the Fremen access. I think it was the right decision. I felt like I had to buy something, and I just thought getting the Fremen and mining access, I think it was going to be significant enough here. Bounty Hunter is obviously a very good card for the infiltration, but I've got Urgent Mission. So as long as I get to a city, I can always Urgent Mission and have that be my infiltration. I don't need the cash, really. And I peel off the Negotiator, which I'm like, oh, no. And then Paul Atreides reveals for 5 here. So he picks up Negotiated. But look at this. Ties me in combat because he trashed his dagger out of his hand and not his discard, so he actually costs himself the first place here, and we end up tying. Really unfortunate that. I mean, I wasn't going to get hold of the win anyways here, but really unfortunate for Nuke that he didn't get the 2 bumps here. That was really brutal. Real shame there. Picks up Negotiated, keeps away from the Baron, which is good. Baron finds his way to another Spice Must Flow. Still looking ominous, but we're gaining ground. Also picks up Bounty Hunter, which I don't hate, but the problem is now the Baron's got like 16, 17 cards. He's got a massive deck here, so even though he's got like some good stuff in there, hard for him to find. So me and Nuke tie. I find Refocus is like, not great. Shuffle your discard deck. I was thinking a couple of turns, I was thinking, well, what I can do is next round, if I get my deck's also kind of slow, so next round, if I draw a lot of power cards, Refocus will let me find those again. And I was like, okay, we've got some options. But yeah, really unfortunate for Nuke this. And yeah, this is where we then start saying, we realize like, oh, you had a dagger in your discard. And he's like, oh, what have I done? So yeah, that was unfortunate for Nuke. Didn't affect me at all, realistically, but it definitely curtailed him a little bit. He still got a water and intrigue out of it, but he had loads of water anyway, so unfortunate error. But we move on to the conflict freeze. I'm like, right, I now have to start winning this game. And this is the chance here. 15 cards, give me a big draw. And I find a decent draw, actually. I find it's got Signet Ring, although I have no alliance. Full Scale Assault is found. I get my Dreadnought back as well. So it's a good hand, but it's also an awkward hand. I have no faction access. I get no access to Fremen. I've got nowhere to get the Highliner. I'm like, oh boy, this is a problem. So Baron Harkonnen, watch this. So Baron Harkonnen gives up interstellar shipping here to go Sonic Snoopers, and this is completely nuts. He doesn't find any access to like any good stuff apparently. Drew again into a blank deck, and Drew Kiddies, and he trashes everything. Trashes all 4 intrigues, looking to just Hail Mary into like corner market, plans, bribery, all sorts of good stuff here. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty insane. Don't see that often here. And he was not particularly happy about it either. He plays Charisma for the end of the round, so again, eyeing up some Spice Must Flows, but who knows what he's got? Impossible to know. So we immediately go into Stellar Shipping, because the thing is, for us, we've only got 5 points here. And the problem for us is that if we are going to win this game, we almost certainly have to go 2 rounds. Unless... you'll see what I mean. So instead of shipping, I've got Urgent Mission. So the idea is we're going to hit this twice. We're going to probably come up and down, maybe grab troop transports, through troops in. We have to win this combat. We have to win the next combat. It's as simple as that. If we don't win both combats, we lose this game and we might well be out this competition. It's that big here. This is one of the biggest turns of like any tournament I've ever played. Honest to God, this was a monstrous turn. So Paul Atreides is up. And now everyone starts going into the tank. And now everyone starts looking to see what is going on here. So Paul Atreides busts out Bene Gesserit Initiate. I'm like, is he going to go Mentat? Is he going to go High Council? High Council looks fairly logical. Don't hate High Council at all. You know, draw a card, Spice Must Flow. But no. Paul Atreides goes Dreadnought and Training Drones. And he decides he's going to win this on the battlefield. He's going to take me head on. Fair play, Nukeall. Fair play, Nukeall. Very brave. And the next tech is Detonation Devices. You win the combat of a Dreadnought, you can blow it up for a victory point. And I'm like, huh. That's the next tech. Huh. Both the tech spots are blocked up. Huh. No one can get it with shipping either. Ikaz goes a Haga Basin to pay for Choam shares, so he's up to 8 persuasion. His tiebreak, by the way, is absolutely terrifying. He's got Chow Murky, so if he gets his way to 10 points, I don't think I can catch him. Snooper played by Baron to draw a card. He's not trashing anything at this point. No need. And as he's playing here, he plays Bounty Hunter. That's how bad his hand is right now. Like, he's drawn pretty hideous, and he's just completely stalling out here. And as he's playing that, I start looking, and I hit the tank. I hit the tank big time here. And all of a sudden, now Detonation Devices is here. There is legitimately a chance for me to win this game in this round. Check this out. 5 points. I need to score 5 points, right? I've got 5, 6, 8, 9 persuasion. But I want to use Urgent Mission to go up here and down. And I obviously want to win the combat. So, the plan is, if I can win the combat for 2 points, if I can blow up a Dreadnought for a point, which I'd have to go shipping to do, with the interstellar shipping, if I go up and down, I can also cash in the bump for my point of the Fremen, and I can buy Spice Must Flow in the same round. I get the 10 points, and this game ends. The power of Minimic and High Council combined on a combat character can let you do these insane, insane things and let you make these plans. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, how do I approach this? Like, I've got to hit Research Station, right? And like, it feels so terrible. Problem is, if I go great flat and just put in troops and win this combat, I'm like, well, next round, I've got Highliner. Diplomacy's in there, and I can just hit it. But it's like, I mean, it's a really difficult spot here. Imperial Basin is also sitting there as well as a backup. And I know I can ship up and down and take the spice. So I go Research Station. Gunfobter, great. Convincing argument, that's pretty good. Spiceless Flow, not so fun. That's a bad find. But it means I've got 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 persuasion still. So I've got actions. It also blocks Paul, who surely wanted to go there. So fold space to Mentat he has to suffice with. But importantly, none of them have any spice. So I know Highliner is almost impossible for any of them to get. It's not possible for Paul Atreides to get 6 spice here. Ekans reveals early for the point like, oh no. Oh no, if he's got Call in the Market. I mean, it's so savage, right? Baron heads Hardy Warriors to put troops in and take the point. Forced action. Uses Liet Kynes to do it. Brutal. I'm like, this is on. This is 100% on. I've got a dagger from Fremenkamp. I've got a dagger. I've got 3 from Full Scale. Gunfopter gives me 3+1. I can also use Fopter to get troops in from my shipping. But I need actions. The problem I've got here is, again, 3, 5, 7, 10 persuasion. It's not enough to go instead of shipping and do something else. I have Refocus as a backup. But I've got to make this work. So we hit Arakeen. We just throw troops in. The intention is we want to find a Dune Defense. I'm like, oh, I find Freighter Fleet. It's not ideal. I would love to have had this on reveal, but it is what it is. I'm looking at, like, can I reveal and get stuff in? Yes, but I have to get hold of the detonation devices. It is absolutely fundamental I do this here. And no one's going to see this coming here. No one's going to see this. Paul Atreides finds Missionaria. Thankfully, there's no alliances of mine that he can threaten, so I'm like, thank goodness for that. So he's going to go Siege. He's going to surely bump the Emperor. Just throw the troops in here. Ekaz on 9 points. If he's got Call on the Market, what do you do here? Absolutely savage. But I'm looking at this, and at this point, my heart's beating. I'm like, this is on. There is a 5-point round here that is on to win this game and recover my tournament. I'm like, holy fucking shit. So I'm just like, no one screw with this, please. I don't know how they would. So Baron reveals. Look at this hand here for Baron, by the way. He drew Dagger, Bounty Hunter, Liet Kynes, Liaison, Dune Desert Planet, and Spice of Flow. Hideous hand. Hideous hand. But he had a 17-card deck, and this is what happens. He grabs Opulence, obviously expecting this to go another round. And then here's the move. Urgent Mission. Freighter Fleet. Boom. Up and down. Detonation devices. Boom. And actually, as it turns out, Spiceless Flow is great because it actually pays for the extra spicy, which means that somehow, if I don't win this combat, I've still got Highliner next round. So actually, Spiceless Flow actually worked out pretty nicely as an insurance policy. We take the point here, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, this is legitimately on here. This is so on. I've got like, I got 9 strength from the bank here with a troop going. I'm gonna have 20 strength. I don't think they can stop me. Baron doesn't have 2 spice, so he can't hit me with Allied Armada. Poor Atreides only got 1 intrigue. I'm like, this is seriously on. Also noticed by Paul Atreides didn't bump Emperor. He actually bumped the Bene Gesserit to try and stop that. So Nuke kind of policing again, which was, you know, I don't hate that at all. To be fair to Nuke, you could not have expected what was going to happen this round to have happened. Like, he could do nothing about this. This is a ridiculous round. This is one of the best rounds of Rise of X I've ever played in my life. So Paul Atreides has an action, but suddenly they think, oh, hold on a second. I'm going to win the combat here and detonation device. That's going to be 9 persuasion. What's all this? And I think if it's starting at thinking, oh dear, this is a bit concerning. So Paul Atreides, not many options here. So he just goes, just picks up spice. Which just makes sense. Jessica Rack is actually getting off of the 2 cards. Hard to do in Rise of X, so fair play there. So he draws 2 cards. And then here we go. And I'm like, I think I'm going to win this game. Holy hell. Troop goes in. 20 strength. Spice must flow. It's on. Can I hold on for dear life? Does Ekaz have Call on the Market? I'm like, I don't care if Baron has Call on the Market because I've got enough spice on him. Which is great. If Baron gets 3rd place here, he only gets 3 spice. So, unless he's also got Tiebreaker, I'm good here against Baron. I'm like, just don't have Ekaz have Call on the Market. Please don't do this. It's like, I could not have played this turn any better here. Paul Atreides reveals here. He has another bump, so he goes for the Bene Gesserit here. So fair play for him committing to try and take on Ekaz here. Totally, I think, don't hate that at all. He had next round action on Ekaz next round, so he was obviously looking to steal it with his diplomacy card, which he hadn't drawn. So diplomacy is coming. He was going to take this alliance too. And I'm just like, please let me get there. Please let me get there. Poor Atreides doesn't have enough spice on file, unfortunately. Only 7. He's short. Brutal. So he takes Gilded Cord. I'm just don't let him get there. Do not give Paul Atreides Allied Armada and like an ambush or something, or double cross or anything here. Please don't let him get there. Baron fields 5 swords. I'm like, oh boy. Oh no. Now he beats me on resources. I'm like, oh no. I'm like begging Paul, please find some swords here. Because now I'm in danger of too having Call on the Market and beating me to this tiebreaker here. I'm like, do not do this to me. And he passes. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, if either of you two got Call on the Market, like, so be it. Because that was an awesome turn from me. Tiebreaker for Ekaz does nothing. He had Childbreaker anyways. So no points there. And I'm like, holy shit, I've won this game. Baron didn't have anything either. Complete blanks everywhere. 5-point round. From absolute nowhere in this game to stealing it. Monstrous. Poor Atreides should have played second wave, by the way, to get in front. Although Private Army was still coming here. Although the Private Army wasn't going to happen here. So Poor Atreides actually did cost himself a couple of spice. They should have played second wave, but... holy hell, yeah. I was so pumped to win this. I've had a rotten record of playing Rise of X games on stream, in tournaments and such as well. I've not had a good record at all. I've really struggled to get wins here. What a round. What a way to, like, stealth buy detonation devices and this, like, hybrid deck with Beast, getting 5 points in one round. Again, Mimic and High Council. I took some huge risks in this game, not taking Memo Quarters early, going for High Council before Swordmaster, early revealing first round for Treachery. Huge risks were taken. The calculated hire, feigning it to steal that combat as well. But we took it down, and we get the win. And yours truly is now right back in this tournament.
GG.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Great turn, great turn.
Yeah, great.
Unfortunately, my mic here, I wasn't recording accidentally, so I just lost it. But I was so relieved to be over the line. I'm mentally spent.
I did so little in the last 2 rounds. It's actually not even funny how little I did.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, Shady, I mean, it was slightly out of his control in a way, but massive deck, like, ended up in this huge Baron, the classic Baron stall. Gets ahead really early, and then just tries to finish it and just can't seem to do it. It is one of those vagaries of this game that we all fall victim to from time to time, and it really, really sucks. But Nukeall was the one who started that off there with the steal of the spacing lines. It was savage.
Yeah, no, I did not expect you to be in it. I drew like a moron. I didn't have any mining cards, so I couldn't go shipping, which is what I wanted to do the whole time. I wanted to go shipping, and then use this to draw free, because I did draw it. And I just draw like a moron.
And me just saying, yeah, High Council, huge decision. Getting High Council before.
That was really clutch. I had to make a decision to just ditch, where is it?
Yeah, look at these in-streaks he had it away. He had Diversion. He had Diversion, Windfall, which actually would have paid for reinforcements, but he trashed War Chest as well because he couldn't get the endgame point and didn't think there was enough value in taking the swords with, like, Windfall, for example. So he just trashed all that, looking to find better stuff. Didn't really get it in the end.
Happens. Man, when I saw the leaders that you left me, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, again, it was really weird. Like, but I had to trust in Beast. Beast was 100% the right. I think was right call. Beast in the 4th position, I think, is actually like a real sleeper pick because the great thing with Beast is he's got great versatility. And the other thing that's great for Beast as well is that when it comes to the tier 3 conflicts, you're in a fairly early position. Specifically, turn 7, your second act, and if it goes to round 8, if you want to go Highliner, all you gotta do is have 6 spies and be ready for it. And you can hit Highliner and you can put your stamp on that combat. So that's one of the advantages of taking a combat leader at the back is that you've got to kind of give up a little bit in the early game and look to hit and win the game round 6, round 7, round 8.
Like, I was actually unironically considering grabbing just this idiot and going like, yeah, there's 3 good decks. I'm gonna grab all 3.
And that was my concern. I was terrified that he was going to go Vernius, and it puts Baron in 2nd spot. That would have been the worst thing that could have happened for me. Thankfully, no one chose Vernius. I thought if anyone was going to pick it, it was going to be Shady. And I just had to pray that he sees Baron and sees the other leaders not really getting and thinks, I just got to go Baron. And thankfully, that's what happened. So here we're talking about, like, the decks and deck compositions a little bit here. And obviously, like, I made some huge gambles. Like, Full Scale Assault is not a card I like taking often, but I felt it was the right call. The early Treachery reveal as well, I thought was a really important move to make.
I got one of them. I mean, I got Opulence on
and he's obviously the cards he got. So he got hold of Opulence, and he had some big cards. But again, the problem was his deck was huge, and he never trashed.
No, like... you played very, very well. Honestly, hats off. You took a lot of risks, and
yeah, I certainly did. Like I don't think I would recommend playing like that every round in every game. Like you're gonna get caught up eventually. But I felt like I've got nothing to lose, and I've just got to absolutely go for it. And you know, again, it's really uncomfortable. Like, I like making a nice early push and kind of putting my foot in the game. I don't often play, admittedly, a kind of a more reserved start, especially with someone like Beast, for example, who's great for, like, charging in early. So to kind of play a very kind of docile start and building up to take it in, like, in the tier 3s it's not my normal style, but given the composition of the table, it seemed the right move.
Yeah, I have too many cards. I have 17 cards.
Yeah,
and that's way too big.
That's the truth of the matter, sadly. And the problem was for Baron is that not only did he have 17 cards, he didn't really have a way to draw either. Like I had access to Research Station, he didn't. So even though I had like a 15 card deck, I had Refocus and I had Research, which means I'm going to be able to find at least half of it. And I've got Minimic and High Council as backup, which he doesn't, which means it's really hard for him to buy Spice Flow at the end. Because he's just drawing all sorts of random, like, starter cards. So, yeah. Minimic, High Council, massive. So here's how the table looks after that one. And, yeah, a massively defining match this in the concept of the table. It was so hard to know what was going on, but it was a massive, massive game. Hjorth is going to make the automatic qualification with 15 points from 4. He cannot be caught by 2 people. Dragira can still overtake him, though, if he can win his final game. I am basically waiting on Dragira. I play after him. I'll be playing, I think, on Sunday night of time of recording. And Dragira will probably have played his game before that. So it's up to him to set the benchmark. He does have the win on him, though, obviously. But that's actually kind of irrelevant here. I've got a superior average points rating. So all I've got to do is if I can catch Dragira, I can make my way into automatic qualification, which would be huge. Strale and History Boy are both still in it as well. Loads to fight for. Shadowblade needs a massive result in his final game. So yeah, it was a crazy game. Hope you've learned something from it. It was fascinating to play. I was pumped to win it, and it feels good to win a game of Rise of X because it doesn't feel like I win enough of those sometimes. It's brutal out there on the streets. Thank you much for watching, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed. Take care of yourselves. We will see you all in the next conflict.